All right, let's return to the interest rate rise now. A fresh hit to households, a political headache as well for the Albanese government. And joining me now is former Assistant Treasury Secretary David Pearl. David, thanks for your time. Look, starting with the point on government spending, how much do you think this is contributing to the rate hike that we saw this week?
That's contributing significantly, Shari. Yes, we're seeing a strong private sector-led recovery, as the Treasurer points out, but that is precisely the reason that the Treasurer should be pulling the lever he has control of, which is Commonwealth outlays, to take pressure off a supply-constrained economy. So yes, it's playing a big role.
When Jim Chalmers was asked about this, he pointed to private sector spending and the private sector. What's your reading of the comments that Michele Bullock actually made?
I think Michele Bullock had a difficult time throughout that press conference. It was probably the first grilling she'd received in any of her post-meeting press conferences. I was disappointed, Shari, she didn't admit to serious policy errors last year and strategic errors and show any contrition. On the question of government spending, Bullock dodged it. She said that I control, together with my board, the interest rate lever. Jim Chalmers controls the fiscal policy lever. But fiscal and monetary policy have to work together if we're in an inflationary crisis. And Australia, along with Norway, is the only OECD country, in the view of the IMF, with a persistent inflation problem. So I think Michele Bullock should be much more upfront about the need for fiscal and monetary policy working together.
When you just mentioned there that she didn't show contrition, which you would have liked to have seen from her, admitting her errors, I take it you're referring to the interest rate cut before the election last year.
Absolutely, Shari. And I was on your program this time last year, as soon as that cut was announced, and I was flabbergasted that the step was made. And this is not being a smart aleck in hindsight. At the time, as I explained to you and your listeners, Shari, the RBA board's own test for an interest rate cut had not been met. We had not seen underlying inflation return to the target band, and it certainly hadn't returned in a sustainable way. So they did jump the gun.
I mean, seeing this, I don't know if you want to call it mismanagement, but seeing the wrong calls being made. I mean, you were in the Treasury as an Assistant Secretary. Do you feel angry that now households are going to have to pay more higher rates and there might be another rate rise as well?
I do feel angry because the Treasury of 20 years ago, Shari, was a policy conscience for the government, because every minister, apart from the Treasurer, every department in Canberra wants more money and wants to raise taxes. And Treasury, when I joined, was the only one, together with a strong Treasurer, and we had Peter Costello at the time, who would basically keep spending in check. And because we don't have, in my view, a competent Treasurer, he's very good at one-liners to the media, but doesn't actually run ERC in the way that previous Treasurers have. He doesn't corral state and federal, state and territory Treasurers, and he doesn't have any control over Chris Bowen and energy policy. We don't have any effective control over that. And it does make me angry because Treasury today, I'm sad to say, is hopelessly politicised.
It is a pity, especially for families that are now dealing with another rate rise, and not to mention the economy more broadly. All right, David Pearl, thank you very much for your time.